The eclipse opened the door. A normal schoolboy is drawn into an ancient struggle between good and evil. The film starts with a young boy riding in a car with his parents, when, all of a sudden, another vehicle swerves into their lane, making his father lose control. Their car crashes through the barrier and plunges off the bridge into the river. Years later, the boy, now grown, wakes in a panic from yet another nightmare about that awful accident. After getting dressed, he goes back to bed, but while he is lying there, his phone rings. His mother comes in and tells him that his friend Vova is calling, though he does not want to speak. Understanding her son's reluctance, she reminds him that they are going hiking in the mountains and that another chance to watch the solar eclipse will not come for a long time. Knowing that he is afraid of heights, she eventually persuades him to join the hike. Meanwhile, in a different century, a shaman carries out a ritual, asking ancient spirits to help him find a powerful stone that will let him bring the world to its knees. Back in the present, Victor and his classmates set off on their hike through the forest and mountains. In time, the group reaches a suspension bridge. The teacher explains how to cross it carefully, and the children begin to make their way over one by one. When it is Victor's turn, he becomes extremely nervous and anxious. His friend tries to encourage him, but it does not help much. Clenching his teeth, Victor takes a few steps forward, but then looks down, panics, and falls off the bridge. Vova quickly rushes to help and manages to pull him back. The other classmates started making fun of him, and when he fell, he also spilled water from a bottle onto his pants. Unable to bear the humiliation, Victor runs away, with Vova chasing after him and catching up near one of the rocks. Vova tries to lift his friend's spirits, and when the boys look up, they see that the eclipse has already begun. Suddenly, strange tremors begin as an earthquake starts, and a section of the rock Vova was standing on collapses, sending him into the chasm. At the last second, he grabs the edge of the rock, but he cannot pull himself up and desperately calls for help. Victor is too frightened to go near the edge. Then, suddenly, a hole like a portal opens in the rock behind them, and Victor is sucked into it. Waking up, Victor sees the rock behind him with a hole closing. Hearing a voice, he cautiously peeks out from behind a large boulder and sees a man in ancient armor holding a bouquet of flowers and talking to himself. Suddenly, a large number of other warriors appear in front of the man. After successfully repelling their attack, he is about to leave when another warrior ambushes him from behind. They engage in a sword fight, but the man is defeated and surrounded. Victor, watching from a distance, decides to move closer, but slips and falls. At the same time, a siren begins blaring from his backpack. The megaphone has turned itself on. The leader of the warriors immediately orders his men to seize the boy. However, the fallen warrior, now mounted on a horse, manages to rescue Victor and escape. Soon they are being pursued, and as they approach the river, the young man asks Velas for help. Instantly, a stone path appears across the water. As soon as the rider crosses the river, the path vanishes, causing the pursuing warriors to fall into the water and be dragged under. The young man brings Victor to the outpost. Ilya and the elder Ovsi, who meet him there, are very unhappy that he left the outpost without permission. The young man explains that he had accidentally come to a grim cliff where he saw the Cumans trampling flowers. He became so enraged that he defeated them all by himself. Then, Cuman's Khan Andok appeared, and if it had not been for this lad distracting them, the situation would have been much worse for him. One of the gathered men decides to bring the boy to his senses and pours a bucket of cold water over him. When Victor awakes, he first thinks his friend did it, but after looking around, he sees strange-looking people who are puzzled by his words. The men begin to doubt that he is a Cuman scout. The elder decides that in the morning, they will take him to Velas to learn the truth. Until then, they lock the boy in a shed. That night, Khan Andok visits the shaman. Although the spirits had correctly shown where the Roman should have been, they had still been unable to kill him. The boy in strange clothes had interfered. When he hears about the child, the shaman asks whether he had a dragon's head symbol. The shaman remembers that the boy did in fact have that symbol on his back. He is very pleased by this news because he has been waiting for him. The spirits have sent their messenger, who will bring them limitless power. Meanwhile, Victor is trying to make sense of what is happening, but his thoughts are interrupted by a girl who comes over and offers him some milk. He tries to ask where he is, yet she does not quite understand the question and answers that he is in the shed. She also says that the outpost is called Rymiv and that it defended Rus from the Cumans. Victor then asks what year it is and is shocked to hear that it is 1120 AD. He can hardly believe his ears. Their conversation is interrupted by the young man, who wants to thank Victor for helping him. Victor says he urgently needs to go home, and the young man replies that he should not worry, since he will be examined by Velas and then released. The next day, the boy is placed on a raft and sent to the middle of the river. Suddenly, the ropes holding the logs snap, and the boy sinks into the water. There he sees some strange creature, and a moment later he is forcefully thrown back onto the shore. After returning to the outpost, the men give Victor back his belongings. Sitting around the table, they introduce themselves one by one. Ilya, Dobrynya, Oleshko, and Eldarovsky. They ask him to explain what happened. Victor tells them that he is from another time and was sucked into a hole in a cliff, but they do not believe him and think he must have hit his head hard. In reply, the boy takes a megaphone from his backpack and switches it on. The loud noise sends the crowd scattering, but it has the intended effect and convinces the warriors of the boy's story. Eldarovsky promises to work out how he can get back home, while Ilya offers for him to stay with his sister Malanka for the time being. Oleshko immediately volunteers to escort the boy. When they arrive at Malanka's place, he hands Victor over to her care. After she leads the boy into the house, Oleshko calls his daughter Rosanka over. He is very taken with her and plans to give her a bouquet hidden behind his back. However, a horse ruins his plan. While Oleshko is speaking with Rosanka, the animal carefully eats the flowers, and when Oleshko pulls the bouquet out from behind his back, only a small chewed-up remnant is left. Offended by such a gift, Rosanka goes inside. That evening, the whole family, Ilya, Dobrynya, and Oleshko, gathers around the table as darkness falls and the fire crackles, and they begin to sing. At that moment, Victor comes out to them. The elder reports that he visited Velis, who said that during a solar eclipse the hole would open again, though no one knows when that will be. He also said that the portal can be forced open, but only the sorcerers know how. They need to go to them for answers. Oleshko immediately says that he knows a place where there are many sorcerers, but Ilya warns against leaving Remiv, since it is surrounded by humans. The next morning, Victor decides to explore the outpost and take some photographs. There he meets Oleshko and asks him to take him to the sorcerers. Oleshko says he can show him the way, but it will not be of much use, because to get answers, one must pass the sorcerer's tests with a sword, a bow, and one's wits. Victor then asks to try and pass all of these tests. Oleshko decides to begin with horse riding. As Victor is about to mount the horse, someone grabs him from behind. Turning around, he sees the captured Cuman, Tuherin. After pulling his hand away, Victor does not notice that a pin has fallen from his coat, and Tuherin picks it up. Next, Oleshko lets the boy shoot a bow and swing a sword, assessing his skills. Oleshko concludes that he will not succeed. The teenager then begs to be taught everything, and in exchange for the megaphone, Oleshko agrees. The next day, Victor's training begins. He learns how to handle a sword, ride a horse, and shoot a bow. Throughout the training, Oleshko watches them closely. At the end of the session, Oleshko shows Victor the enormous sword of Ilya Muromets. The teenager immediately asks whether Dobrynya is Dobrynya Nikitich, and, realizing that he is in the presence of three legendary heroes, Dobrynya Nikitich, Ilya Muromets, and Oleshko Popovich, he excitedly tells Oleshko that, in his own time, everyone knows about them, and that there are legends and tales about them. As time passes, Victor becomes skilled with the sword and bow, and Oleshko draws him a map showing the way to the sorcerer. Meanwhile, the shaman keeps practicing his dark magic, enchanting a raven and sending it out on reconnaissance. Victor sets off on his journey. At one point, he hears a rustling noise, and decides to hide behind a tree, peeking out carefully with his bow ready. There he meets Olenka, a girl who has come into the forest to pick mushrooms. Victor explains that he is looking for the sorcerer, and desperately needs to return home. He shows her the map and asks whether she recognizes the place. Deciding to help, Olenka agrees to go with him. In the end, the two friends reach the marked location, and Victor is instantly taken to another dimension. He finds himself in the middle of a vast frozen ocean. An unknown voice sternly demands to know who he is and why he has come. Victor asks for help, saying that he truly wants to go home. The voice offers to exchange the needed knowledge for a price. Victor must reveal his deepest fears, and if he lies, he will remain there forever. He admits to an accident, his fear of heights, and how that fear kept him from helping his friend. The sorcerer accepts his confession and tells him about Perrin's stone. The stone can cross the ages, but finding it is not something any mortal can easily do. It should be sought where the wingless nest, and it will be seen when the wind is tamed. The mighty power of the stone will be released by one who can touch heart to heart. Returning to Olenka, Victor shares the sorcerer's words with her. She immediately remembers a village they know as Zastava, and they decide to go there. When they arrive, Oleshko's house is built right on the lake. Olenka explains that the people there are very kind, and that they have a legend saying their ancestors were once storks. Victor suddenly gets an idea for how to tame the wind. He makes a small parachute and sends it into the air. The wind catches it and carries it along, and the two of them run after it. It leads them to a spot in the lake where Victor dives into the water and finds the stone. The raven, which has been watching the children all this time, immediately reports everything to the shaman. Suddenly, the friends hear a scream. Turning toward the sound, Olenka sees a crowd of cumans running toward the village. Victor and the girl hide as chaos breaks out around them, with enemy warriors slaughtering all the villagers. At the watchtower, one of the guards notices smoke and realizes that the village is burning. He calls for the warriors, dividing them into two groups. Ilya and Dobrynya go one way, while Oleshko and the others head the other way. Almost at once, the two heroes encounter the Cumans together with Victor and Olenka. The men quickly engage in battle. Vitko notices that one of the enemies is sneaking up behind the heroes and, grabbing a bow, shoots him. Back at the outpost, Elder Ovsi scolds the children for leaving without permission, but the heroes defend them, saying that Victor needs to return home. They suggest going to the Grim Cliff at dawn the next day. That night, at the Cuman camp, Khan Andok is told about the failure. Furious, he goes to the shaman, who promises not to make any more mistakes and to bring him the stone the following day. The next day, Victor, Elder Ovsi, and the heroes head to the Grim Cliff. They place the stone into it, but nothing happens. There is no power in it. The elders suggest waiting for a thunderstorm, since Perron is the lord of these elements, and the stone may gain power then. When they return to the outpost, Victor finds Olenka very upset. He goes to the elder and asks for the girl's punishment to be lifted. Unexpectedly, the teenager notices drawings for wings on the table and spots a mistake. He immediately tells the elder about it. The elder explains that he wants to design wings for the warriors so they can drop the stone onto the heads of the Cumans. Vitko offers to help. Later, the friends go for a walk. On the way, Olenka tells a legend about the stone heart. Whoever finds it will meet their true love or find a lost one. She also confesses to Victor that she thinks he is special. After the walk, Victor returns to Elder's workshop and helps with the glider plans. Oleshko arrives and says that Ilya is calling them. When they meet the hero, they learn that the Cumans attacked Zastava deliberately because they were looking for the boy with the stone. Realizing that the artifact is in danger, the elder suggests hiding it somewhere. When they return to the workshop, the elder decides to hide the stone again, but it is gone. After searching the whole room, he and Victor go outside and see Malanka cracking nuts with it, taking the magical item from her. Elder Ovsi suggests taking it to the top of the watchtower. Looking at the height of the structure, Victor flatly refuses to climb, but the elder manages to convince him, and they both head to the very top. By overcoming his fear, Victor even risks going close to the edge to look at the surrounding landscape. After a while, the long-awaited thunderstorm begins. While talking to Olenka, Victor notices that a heavy hailstorm has started. Feeling sorry for the prisoner, he covers the prison with a canopy. That night, lightning strikes the highest point of the observation tower. Some stones fall to the base of the prison, where the prisoner is held. Tuharin manages to escape and returns to his brother Khan, but Khan is not happy to see him and orders his servants to throw the man out of his tent. Kicking Tuharin's belongings in anger, he says that the gods have turned away from him again. But then the shaman notices a fallen stone from Perun that had been brought by Khan's brother. In the morning at the outpost, Grandpa Ovsi discovers the missing stone and that Tuharin has escaped with the artifact. Oleshko suggests sneaking into their camp at night to steal it back. The elder agrees, and they need to finish the hang glider at once. The boy and the man get to work immediately. The device is almost ready. It only needs to be painted black. In the Cuman camp, Khan demands the promised power from the shaman, but the shaman says that the stone has no power, and that only the one who found it can breathe power into it. The next day, Grandpa Ovsi and Olenka go to gather dirt for the warriors. The girl suggests picking some berries for Victor for the journey, and the man lets her go into the forest without the elder. Several Cuman attack the girl. After stunning her, they throw her onto a horse and prepare to leave, but Grandpa Ovsi intervenes. After a struggle, they manage to wound him badly and escape with the girl. By evening, the man is found and brought to the outpost. He tells the heroes that Olenka has been kidnapped. After promising to rescue the girl, Grandpa Ovsi dies. Meanwhile, the girl is brought to Khan. Enraged, he beats the servant and orders him to bring the boy. At the outpost, Victor is in Grandpa's workshop, mourning the dead, when he suddenly sees a raven land on the windows, carrying a scrap of paper in its claws. He realizes it is a message from the girl. Quickly gathering his things, the boy follows the bird to save his friend. When he reaches the Cuman's camp, he finds the girl and tells her that Grandpa Ovsi has died. Separated once again, the shaman gives Victor the stone so he can imbue it with power. The boy agrees, but asks for his backpack in return. Using fireworks and smoke bombs, he creates chaos in the camp and tries to escape with the girl. However, the Khan is not fooled by the display and stops them. After tying up the boy, he gives him one last chance, or Olenka will die. Victor agrees, but demands a promise that they will not be killed. Taking the stone in his hands, the boy suddenly understands what must be done. Handing it to his friend, they both imbue the artifact with power and give it to Khan Andak to keep his word. Khan calls Tuharanin and orders him to kill the children using the Perun stone. The shaman begins casting a spell from the surrounding boulders and mountains. He creates a giant. At that moment, the teenagers are about to be executed. Karan is ready to behead the boy, but then he remembers how Victor sheltered him from the hail. At the last second, he changes his mind and kills the Khan Andak soldiers instead, freeing the children and giving them a chance to escape. Furious over his brother's actions, Khan kills Tuharan. On the way to the outpost, the friends encounter heroes who were on their way to rescue them. They return to the outpost together, and Victor explains the terrifying creature the shaman brought to life. After a while, the sentry on the tower spots an approaching human horde and raises the alarm. A massive army is advancing, and with it comes the stone golem, created by the shaman. Not knowing how to stop it, the defenders try different weapons, but nothing works. The heroes tell the women and children to take shelter. Oleshko then comes up with an idea. He mounts a horse and charges at the golem. By provoking the creature with his antics, he manages to lure it into the water, where help arrives from Velis. Not knowing whether Oleshko survived, Rosanka runs to the riverbank and calls for him. The heroes coming up behind her tell her that he is dead, but just then, he rises from the water. Overjoyed, the girl rushes to hug him and admits her love. Suddenly, Victor notices that a solar eclipse has begun. After saying goodbye to Rosanka, the boy heads to the cliff. Meanwhile, the Cuman attackers breaches the fortification and sparks a battle. Despite the enemy's numerical advantage, the warriors manage to repel the assault and drive them out of the outpost. However, their victory does not last long, because the shaman has succeeded in resurrecting the golem. At this point, Victor returns to Remiv with an idea for how to stop the shaman. Climbing to the top of the observation tower, the boy puts on the hang glider. Standing on the edge, he overcomes his fear and steps into the unknown, diving down with the stone. He manages to steady the glider and fly to the shaman. After knocking the stone from the shaman's hands, Victor makes a rough landing on the rocks, but Khan Andak is waiting for him there and demands the artifact. Khan Andak is instead met by the boy throwing it into the water. The stone's magical power instantly fades, and the golem collapses. Seeking revenge, Khan Andak attacks Victor, but Oleshko comes to his aid. After a short struggle, Oleshko manages to throw the Cuman off the cliff. Realizing that he has very little time, the boy urgently asks to be taken to the gloomy rock. When they reach the spot, Victor says goodbye to the hero. Just as he is about to leave, he hears Olenka's cry. She has come to say goodbye, and understanding that they will probably never see each other again, she kisses him. Victor takes a step and falls into the portal, returning to the present time. There, Victor sees his friend Vova hanging on the edge of a cliff. Rushing to him, the boy grabs his hand and pulls him to safety. Vova, upset, says he thought his hand had come off, that Victor had been scared. Victor admits that he was, at first. He was frightened, then got sucked into the portal, faced trials in the swamps, met heroes, fought the Cumans, dealt with a magical stone, and confronted a golem. As Victor tells his adventure, Vova's eyes grow wider and wider. Meanwhile, the whole class watching the rescue applauds, impressed by Victor's bravery. A year later, Victor's mother gives him an ancient book. As he studies its pages, he discovers a mysterious legend about the stone heart, a relic said to hold great power. Victor sets out to find this legendary artifact. After a long and difficult journey, he finally finds the stone heart. When he touches it, and whispers a girl's name, a magical connection is formed. At the same time, 1,000 years earlier, Olenka came across the very same stone. As she reaches out to touch it, an inexplicable bond is created across the centuries, and both Victor and Olenka feel connected. Do you think these heroes really existed in real life, or are they only figures of legend? Share your thoughts in the comments down below, give a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next videos.